Yes, okay, so this is Jim, this is about the Maldives.
Hang on. I'm Jim Robertson. I work in the product team at Kuoni. So it's really important that we pick a resort that really speaks to the people that we send there and really has an appeal and a uniqueness about it. So when we go there, we look for variety, we look at the right types of rooms, we look at what F&B, what restaurants are available, if there's an amazing kids club, what's available in terms of stuff to do. So it's not just about a beach. You can have one resort that'd be perfect for one person but maybe wouldn't be quite right for someone else, and that's really where we come in. We really know these resorts, and we know when we get to know our customers, we get to know what's important to them, what they consider luxury is or what they consider a perfect experience is, and then we can match up a resort that speaks to those needs. We'll have a think about our customers in terms of, do they have a family? Are they marking a special occasion? Are they super active? Do they get really bored about 5 minutes after landing in a resort? Or are they people who would really like that decompression and downtime? Do they love an amazing spa? I think the thing with the Maldives is that it's got its own special brand of activity. So that might be that you really want to go paddleboarding, or you really want to do some water sports, or you want to learn to dive. You'd like to even take a cooking lesson or astronomy and that kind of stuff. So goes without saying, life happens at a much slower pace in the Maldives, and that is one of that is part of the magic of it. But for someone like me, I would always be able to find something to do. So I would take that. I'm going there with my family later this year, and my wife and my kids like to just lounge by the pool and have a nice relaxing time. But I still find stuff to do. So you've got options. It's not a place where you can obviously drive around and go exploring in the same way, but it's more about finding what's special about that particular resort. The Maldives is a brilliant spot for families. The assumption is that it's not, because it's all romance and couples and honeymoons and all of that stuff. But actually, when we boil it down to what a family, and especially families with younger kids, want, kids love pools, kids love beaches, kids love places where people are nice to them. And one of the great things about the Maldives is that the staff in the resorts are really friendly, really family friendly. They dote on the children. They'll work really hard to accommodate any sort of dietary requirements or any kind of fussy eaters and all of that stuff. And that really takes the stress away from the family. If I think about my stresses as a family, a lot of it's around meal times, and that's generally not the case in the Maldives because people are just really accommodating. So actually, in many ways, I argue that the Maldives is as good a place for families as it is for couples, mainly because life is really simple there, and kids' needs are quite simple as well, especially younger ones. Hand on heart, for me, the Maldives is one of the true 365-day-a-year destinations. You would be hard pushed to go and stay in the Maldives for any 7-day stretch of the year and it not rain once. It's an equatorial, tropical destination. It will almost certainly rain. There are parts of the year where it's likely to rain a little bit more. May to August, May to September, you're likely to get a little bit more rain, but realistically, it's still a fantastic time of year to go. The climate right the way through the year is solid 30 degrees, the water's 28 degrees, and that just does not fluctuate. That's the temperature year round. Because the Maldives is essentially competing with Europe and the Mediterranean in terms of getting people from the UK to come, they make their prices incredibly competitive. The price of a Maldives holiday is really compelling. Many times we're talking to customers, we actually say, you could afford to go to the Maldives for that amount of money, and half the time they can't believe it. It does represent absolutely amazing value for money in that kind of low season. So school summer holiday, absolutely brilliant time to go for families. With direct flying on the way out and the way back, means that it's very accessible and very easy to get to from the UK. So you land all international flights land in Male, which is roughly in the centre of the Maldives, about halfway down. Maldives overall is it's kind of the size of Portugal and about the same sort of shape. But you land in Male, and If you imagine concentric circles going out from Male, the smallest circle around closest to Male tends to be served by speedboats. So you'll be on a speedboat, you'll be greeted from immigration by a representative, and then you'll be taken essentially just over a little zebra crossing to a dock where your speedboat will be waiting for you, and off you go to your resort. And that'll take up to 60 minutes. Speedboat transfers tend to take up to about 60 minutes. Once you get beyond that starts to become quite a long time on a boat. So you will then, that's when the seaplanes start to take over. If you take a seaplane, they usually are up to about 50 minutes flight from Male. And what happens there is you come out of the immigration, same as before. You'll be met by someone who will weigh your bags in, take your bags and check them in for the seaplane. You'll be whisked around to the seaplane terminal where you wait for up to a couple of hours normally, but not much more than that normally. Or it could be half an hour, but you'll be in a lounge. Finally, you've got, for resorts that are furthest edges of the Maldives, you've got domestic flights, and that's exactly what it sounds like. A smaller plane that will hold maybe 40 to 50 people or so will leave a regular runway in Male, and it will land on a regular runway at an island further away. And then your representative from that resort will just pick you up at that airport and whisk you away on your speedboat to the final destination. It gives you a real sense of place in the Maldives. You take off from Male, but you never really go more than a couple of thousand feet in the air. So you're quite low to the atolls and to the sea. So you see the kind of carpet of atolls, of turquoise atolls go underneath you. You can see little sandbanks and little lagoons underneath you, and the sea changes colour all the way through your journey. If you're lucky, you even see, when you're getting lower, you can even see pods of dolphins. You can see, I've seen, schools of manta rays in the water underneath me on the seaplane. It gives you a real sense of what the Maldives is about. It's these tiny little islands, literally in the middle of nowhere, and then being serviced by these seaplanes as a really fun, and it's a fun way to get around as well. If it wasn't a transfer, we'd probably sell it as an excursion because it's that much fun. Going back to your earlier question about will I get bored in the Maldives, it actually pays to pick a bigger resort in that case, because there tends to just be more facilities and more things to do. But it also gives you lots and lots of options in terms of places to dine. So if you've got quite eclectic tastes, then Kuoni is a brilliant place to go. But beyond the food itself, and the food, by the way, is amazing, and you've got incredible Indian cuisine, you've got a great little French bistro, you've got international restaurants, you've got Italian. It's a great spot for that. If you wanted something altogether more intimate but still incredibly good for food, Kandolu, one of our exclusives, but only 30 villas, so less than a tenth the size of Kuoni. So this is a real speck of an island in the middle of nowhere. And yet it's still got 6 restaurants. And so again, an incredibly diverse range of food that's available to cater for all tastes. I think that's a bit of a signature of the Maldives generally, is that because of its location globally, it has people from Asia, people from the Middle East, people from Europe, people from the US and the Americas coming. So it's got to cater for all these different palates and tastes, and so most resorts will have an amazing range of food available, especially breakfasts. Personally, I think it's really worth considering it in the Maldives. All-inclusive is one of those things that, done well, is an absolute godsend, because it really takes the stress out of any holiday. There are some resorts that are actually all-inclusive only, like the Emerald Resorts, Farafushi and Emerald Maldives, which is a really generous all-inclusive. So really, highly regarded branded spirits and wines and so on, as well as some fantastic restaurants. I got 3 that are particularly special, I think, and particularly popular. Sri Lanka is an incredibly popular place to start a holiday, and being more of a touring, tailor-made, traveller type holiday, it's an amazing experience, but it can be quite a tiring experience as well. You spend quite a lot of time on the road, quite a lot of time hiking, quite a lot of time looking at nature. It's a busy country, so it's an incredible travel experience. But to then fly straight home after that, you can feel a little bit wired. The best thing to do is to go and just decompress and kind of process all of the things that you've seen. I think the Maldives is a brilliant place to do that, where life just goes right down to absolute snail's pace. The service is fantastic, you're looked after incredibly well. Spend a few days there to just kick back and relax and then fly home. So Sri Lanka Maldives option is a brilliant holiday. It's brilliant for families, it's brilliant for couples, it's a really popular honeymoon option. I really like the juxtaposition of mega city and tiny speck of an island in the Indian Ocean. And so Dubai is an amazing option for that. Dubai has a really progressive, hyper-futuristic, everything is enormous. It's a complete sensory overload. A bit like Sri Lanka in that respect, but in an urban environment. Again, the best antidote to that is to fly into a paradise island, just kick back and relax. But Dubai is really special in terms of what it offers, and the vibe, and the, again, amazing restaurants. If you want to go and party there for a few days and then come down to the Maldives to relax, absolutely fantastic option. If you're into exploring the ocean and the sea, and especially snorkeling and diving, if that's really important to you, then picking a resort with a great house reef is something you should have a think about. I think pick your activity level as well. There's resorts that have more and more activities, or some that are a little bit more basic. A lot of it's dictated by the size of the resort itself, the size of the island. So for instance, Kuoni has a full-size football pitch. It's got tennis courts. It's got an amazing water sports centre. It's even got a running track, so you can do a 5K run or a 5K loop around Kuoni if you fancy doing that in 30 degrees. Is a kids club important to you? If you're a family, there are some. All kids clubs are not created equal. Some are a bit of a nod to babysitting, and some are absolutely incredible multi-million-dollar facilities. So I'd think about whether your kids are A, going to use a kids club, and B, if they are, then you may as well go somewhere where the kids club is absolutely brilliant. I cannot unsuperglue my face from the window of a seaplane when we're flying around, and I'm lucky enough to have, I think I've probably seen 60 odd resorts, I think, in the Maldives over my time working in the region. And it's like a childlike wonder, just looking out the window. I'll just gaze out of a seaplane window forever. I've been there a lot. I've been on hundreds of seaplane flights, but I still love it. It makes me feel very excited about traveling.